Hello, everybody. We are just waiting for everybody to come and join online with us for the chocolate making video. Hopefully, we'll have a few people joining us. Okay. Usually, some people. Okay, we've got one person who's joined us. We're just sitting on the porch here waiting for everything to get started. Arlise, hi, how are you? Oh, good, we got some Epworth friends that have joined us. There's Joshua in the back there. Joshua can wave and say hello. Hello. Where's Nathan? We've got Nathan over here. Oh, I'm blocking his face. All right, awesome. So we are still just waiting a little bit until we're ready to get started. We're getting set in the kitchen here. We're getting everything ready so that we can just jump in right when we are ready to go. Okay, I'll give you guys a little bit of a view of the outdoors here. You can see this is the porch that we're sitting at. This is where we get to do a lot of our work. This is the view. How gorgeous is that? Luckily this week it's not raining. Last week it was storming and pouring down rain about 20 minutes before we started, but thankfully this week we have got clear, sunny skies. You can see the beautiful flowers that we have, the parrots. We've got Nathan over there. Apparently he's also joining live on his phone. Megan, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Sarah, can you tell me when it's 5?
I don't have my phone.
Okay. You see we've got our supplies here ready to go. I'll just show you a little bit of all the different things it takes, but we won't start our tour until about 5 o'clock. Nathan's over there trying to make sure everybody joins. Hey, Mike Gillespie, good to see you. Thank you for joining. All right, like I said, it's pretty hot in Liberia today. It's probably in the 90s, 95, and I personally am sweating a lot more than I was last week. Joshua, what about you?
I'm right here. I'm a Liberian, so it's okay for me.
It's okay for you. Not okay for me. Not okay for me. But that's okay. We're going to keep going. Brian, I see that my brother-in-law is here. Good to see you, Brian. Thank you. All right, are we at 5 o'clock yet, Nathan?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So, Joshua, you want to join me? We can do a little bit of introduction of ourselves before we go ahead and get started.
Yeah.
So I will introduce myself real quick for those of you who are just joining. My name is Anna Glenn, and I am a missionary with Hope in the Harvest. Hope in the Harvest vision is to see Christ-centered economic growth in developing countries. So I am here as an agriculture teacher. Never thought I would be involved in a chocolate business.
Hello, my name is Joshua Sima, the student of Liberia International Christian College, and right now working with the chocolate business.
Okay, so thank you, Joshua. So I want to ask Joshua a couple of questions as we get started here. So Joshua, can you tell us a little bit about how the chocolate business began, when and how it started?
Okay, the chocolate business began in 2018 with experiment, and it started with a couple of students and staff at the Liberia International Christian College.
Okay, so it was mostly students and staff. You guys were experimenting, right?
Yes.
In 2018.
In 2018.
Okay,
yes.
good.
And then we served for the course called Food Processing and Preservation, and after the class, and some of the students were very much excited, and some of the students have cocoa farm, and cocoa is part of their blood. They've been growing cocoa throughout their life.
Did you have a cocoa farm?
Yes, I have a cocoa farm. My parents have a cocoa farm.
Okay,
yes,
awesome.
So we have a cocoa farm, but then we don't know how cocoa can be made into chocolate. So when we heard about it, we were very much excited and we want to see that Liberia made their own chocolate from the cocoa bean that we grow. So we started with it in 2018 with the experiment. 2019 is there where we get into the very small business, and up to now, we are growing a little bit bigger.
Yeah, so 2018, we were just experimenting. We had no idea what we were doing with chocolate. We watched a lot of YouTube videos. We did a lot of experiments. And then in the end of 2018, like he said, we started selling it a little bit on the market. We've mostly been selling it in the capital city, Monrovia, which is about 4 hours from here. And then now in what's the big news for 2020? What just happened last
Oh,
week?
2020, now we get into the supermarkets in Monrovia, and a lot of the supermarket owners really like the chocolate. Our customers are saying, oh yeah, this is the best quality chocolate I've ever eaten.
The best chocolate they've ever eaten. That is quite a compliment. And we've heard from some of the other people who have been buying the chocolate, friends that we know. They said it's the best chocolate they've ever eaten. I know that Pastor Terry from Epworth this morning commented that the brownies that we had made this summer were literally the best brownies she's ever had in her entire life. And I've got to agree. It's also the best chocolate I've ever eaten. So can you just tell us real quick, Joshua, why did we start this business? And then we're going to get started on some of the things.
Okay, we started business to try to support farmers. And the cocoa sellers in Liberia had a problem which had to do with low price, and the buyers who buy the cocoa from the farmers, they pay them low price. But for us, we try to pay the higher price, and we see that there's an opportunity for us to make our own chocolate out of the cocoa beans. It is very much discouraging when we grow the cocoa bean and then it is taken to Europe, America, China, and then it is made into chocolate, then they send it back to us to buy it. And then for one chocolate bar, the people who made the chocolate bar, they get a lot of money, and the farmer just get 3% of the income. So it is very much bad for us. So we try our best to make this and then keep job in Liberia and then help the farmers to get a fair price and then try to keep the economy of Liberia up.
Yes, excellent. I hope you guys got all of that. So we started it because the farmers here have been growing cocoa for many, many years, but they've been exporting it. And the money that Liberia and West Africa gets from the cocoa industry is very, very small. So let's go over here, Joshua. I think maybe you can show us what we have here. What is this thing growing here? This is what?
This is a cocoa seed.
And this is the beginning of our chocolate, right?
Yeah, this is the beginning of our chocolate.
So how old is this cocoa seedling? We planted a cocoa bean there.
Yeah, we planted the cocoa bean there and it germinated. We take it out and I reached this stage 5.
So I think it's a couple months old, right?
Yeah.
So this is a very, very small baby cocoa tree. This will eventually be transplanted out into the fields. I've got some pictures here. Unfortunately, we can't take you on the cocoa farm, but we've got pictures of the cocoa flowers developing. Give me a like or a heart if you can see that clearly, so I know that I should keep going with these pictures. So then we've got the flowers that is opening up there, and that will develop into what we have here, which is a cocoa pod. It grows on a tree. One of our students, Kona, is about to harvest that cocoa pod there. Then we harvest all the cocoa pods from the trees. Then we bust them open and it looks like this inside. We have some seeds and we have some fruit and some pulp. Then what we do after that is we dump all of those seeds into a box or a bowl or something, and we stir them with our hands. Actually, it's good to get your bacteria from your hands and anything in there because that helps with the fermentation process. So then the beans ferment in that container, typically one that's built out of banana leaves. A natural container works a lot better. And they'll sit in there for 5 to 7 days. They'll be stirred occasionally, and then they are ready to be dried on the sun. So this part right here is the big, big part with cocoa making. You have to make sure that your beans are fermented. If they are not fermented well, you will have very, very bitter chocolate. Alexa is asking, can you eat the cocoa fruit? Yes, you can, and it's quite delicious, actually. We're going to try making jam out of it one day. So this is our cocoa beans being dried, and Joshua will now show you the next step. What do we do when we have a farmer come and they have cocoa beans? What do we do first?
So we get the beans from the farmer, and then we open all the beans to grade it. And the grading has to do with getting the best quality of the cocoa beans. Some will have purple beans, some will have molded beans, so we don't want those beans in our chocolate, so we grade it. And the grading step go there, we get 100 pieces of 100 pods of cocoa beans from the bag, and we cut it open.
So as Joshua is doing here, he's saying that we take a few samples from the beans when farmers bring their beans in to test the quality. So we open them up and we're looking for beans that are moldy. We're looking for beans that have a purple color, a gray color. Typically, we are looking for good beans, which are a brown, rich color like that. We don't, unfortunately, have any of the bad beans because we didn't buy any of the bad beans. But the beans that are bad, that were not fermented properly, will have a very purple color. And we have accidentally made chocolate from that. And does it taste good?
Yeah, this bean really tastes good. You can even eat this one if you got it, like this.
Oh,
You want it's very good, it's not.
Joshua likes the raw one. For
Yeah.
me, I do not like to eat the raw one. It's very, very bitter. So what they do is the students, they have all learned how to grade the cocoa. We'll set it aside in a tray like this, and then we will fill out the grading sheet, and we will give it a grade, A, B, C, D, you know. And our cocoa, we will also test it using one of these machines. I'm not sure if we have time to show you, but this is a moisture meter machine. We will put the beans inside and test and make sure that they have a moisture of less than what percent?
Less than 7.5%.
Less than 7.5%, because we don't want to be buying water. And we don't want our beans to spoil later on either. Joining us here is Sunday. Sunday, do you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi, how are you guys?
Sunday is also one of our students who works in the chocolate business here. So after we have decided that our cocoa beans are of good quality, what do we do next with them, Joshua?
Then we buy it and then put it into the tray. The next step is the roasting of the beans.
Okay.
So when we buy it from the farmer and in the good quality, we have to take it in and then put it into the tray.
Okay.
Have 2 pounds of the bean.
Okay, so Joshua is measuring out the cocoa beans. He said usually we put about 2 pounds in our tray here before we do the roasting. When we first started, we did not have an oven, right? We were doing the roasting how?
Oh, well, we're passionate. We're quite passionate, and then we use the coal pot and the coal. Then we put it in there, and then we'll be there, stirring it, and make sure that it's roast very well.
Exactly. So we were doing it on the coal pot.
Coal pot.
Yeah, and we had a lot more problems with our cocoa beans burning back then. And it was tasting a little bit bitter. So Joshua is now going to walk us inside the kitchen and show us what we do with our cocoa beans. So we go into the kitchen. This is our kitchen. You'll get to see a little bit more of that. And we then put them in the oven. And usually Sunday is helping with this part. So Sunday can come over. She can open the oven. Then she can, well, first she has to light it. We're not going to do that right now because it takes a long time. But she'll just go ahead and set them in there. And then we turn the temperature to about 375 degrees Fahrenheit, right?
Yes.
Yep. We don't have to light it today. We don't want to take all that time. And then we close it up. And then every 5 minutes we do what, Sunday? Can you show us what we do? Every 5 minutes we open the oven back up. And we stir, 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 in order to make sure that our beans don't burn on the bottom there. Because even if the outside shell of the bean burns, that bitter flavor will go inside of the chocolate as well. And we definitely don't want to be tasting smoke. So we'll put it back in, out, in, out, in, out every 5 minutes or so. And then once we are, how do we know when they're ready? We'll start to hear something.
Yes. It's like a pop.
What do we start to hear?
It starts with pop.
Pop like popcorn, right?
Yeah.
Pop, 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 pop. But they're not bouncing around the oven, right?
No.
They still stay seated. So that popping noise is saying that the water is evaporating from the bean and it's ready to go. So you want to take it out of the oven. They're all ready. And now we can take them out and show you what we do next. So Sunday is a professional at this. Are we going to carry these outside Sunday and process them? Okay, let's grab. And what do you call this thing here?
This is spinner.
This is a fender. What do we use it for in Liberia typically?
You use it to remove the shells by fennel.
Use it to remove the shells. So typically we use it in rice, right?
Yeah.
A lot of Liberians grow rice, and we can dry the seeds and then we will shake the shell off using this fendering. And I myself have tried it a few times. And let me tell you, I do not have any skills in this yet. It's pretty embarrassing when I try and do it. So I will not be the one showing you how to do it. While we're walking down to the area where we process the cocoa beans, please feel free to ask us any questions. I think I saw a question on there asking about how long it takes to bear for once you've planted the cocoa seedling in the ground. And typically it can take anywhere from 18 months to 3, 4, 5 years. So the variety that many people are trying to use in Liberia right now is the hybrid variety, and that takes 18 months to bear. However, it doesn't bear for as many years as the older variety. That other variety that is more, heritage variety takes 3 years before it starts bearing, and it can bear for 25, 50 years. All right, so Joshua is going to show us, or Sunday is going to show us, what do we do with the beans now? We have to separate the shell from the from the bean. I'll just show you guys. Now that they are roasted, you can easily do it with your hand. However, to do all of this by hand takes an incredibly long time. So you guys can show us what you do with the jar there. So he's just rolling over it with the glass jar, just making it easy for us to crack the bean open and separate the shell from the nib. We also have this very large, very loud machine that can do that for us. But for the sake of time and for the sake of your ears, we're not going to fire that machine up right now. So we're just going to show you just a small portion of how we do this. Before we had this machine, we were literally doing like hundreds of pounds of cocoa beans by hand like this every day. So it was an incredibly labor-intensive work. Joyce is asking, will the fruit on the cocoa tree bear annually? Yes, it usually starts to bear in Liberia anywhere from, it starts in like October, right? Yeah. During the rainy season, it starts to bear, and it will bear from October to about February, March. And sometimes it will still bear throughout the year if you've planted your tree in an area where there's a lot of rainfall or in a swamp. But most farmers just have a little acre, a little bit of acreage, 5 to 7 acres. Most of it's planted on the upland, and so they have bearing every single year. So you can see we're getting close to cracking all these beans down here. You can see the difference between the nib and the shell that is there, and we're eventually going to have to sort that out. If you guys want to start showing us how to fender it, that will be okay. Sunday, would you mind doing that for us? I need to stand back. So what Sunday is doing is throwing all of what's up on the fender. She's throwing it up in the air. And the lightweight things, like the shell, are flying in the air, as you can see, and falling down on this mat here. And then the heavier parts, which we call the nibs, are staying on the fender itself. So again, this is something that many people in Liberia are used to doing. They've been doing it, their whole life. Especially women do it with the annual rice harvest. And so Sunday has already had a lot of experience in that. So when it came time for her to fender the cocoa, it was nothing strange or new for her. Joshua, would you mind grabbing some of the shell down there and showing us? Yeah. And telling us, what do we do with that shell?
We use the shell to make a tea.
A tea?
Yeah.
Okay, and what do we call that tea?
Cocoa tea.
And how do we make it?
We put it into the tea pan, and then add hot water to it. Sort its juice from the shell into the pan. Then you add sugar or honey or something that you like to the tea, and then just drink the tea.
And how does it taste?
For me, it tastes very nice. I like it. Every morning I take some.
Did you know that we could make cocoa tea before?
No, I didn't know that until a certain time, just like maybe a month ago. Now we're told that we can make cocoa tea.
Yeah, we had some visitors come from Central America, and they were telling us how they can drink cocoa tea with the shells. Yeah. For us, we were just taking the shells, and what were we doing with them before?
We just put in the compost pile and then make it compost.
So the compost pile, we were giving them to our goat feed. Yeah. So we weren't really, doing anything extra special with these, but the cocoa tea is actually really, really good. It tastes like hot chocolate. And Joshua has gotten a little bit addicted to it. Every morning he makes it. And we all get to enjoy a big pot of cocoa tea. So I think now Sunday we're going to carry that up to the kitchen again. You can see how we have separated the cocoa nib here from the shell. Sometimes there's a few little pieces of shell left in that we can hand pick out, but for the most part, this fendering does a very good job of separating the nib from the shell. So let's head back up. Does anybody have any questions? Oh, someone is saying, I didn't know anything about cocoa tea. Yeah, I did not know anything either. But we are working right now on trying to figure out how we can package and sell that in Monrovia so that we can have another way to add value to the business here. So we're just walking back into the kitchen. We've got a gorgeous afternoon today. It's about 5:30 here. You might have seen this beautiful mural on the building last week during the farm tour. So I'll follow Joshua and Sunday into the kitchen. These cocoa nibs that Sunday is holding here, these can actually be eaten raw. A lot of people will eat them for health benefits as well. They can be mixed into smoothies. You can mix them into your cakes, your brownies, cookies, and they give a lot of nutrients. So they're kind of becoming a fad in the United States right now, a health fad. And so we've started packaging those as well because there's been a few people in Liberia who have asked for that product to be for sale. All right, Sunday, what are we going to do next?
We're about to ground the nibs.
So we're going to grind the nibs using this hand grinder. This is something that was bought locally in Liberia. It's usually used for what? For grinding cassava leaf, which is a type of soup that we like to eat here. So Sarah is here. You'll notice Sarah is one of the Sebald children from last week, and she helps out in the chocolate kitchen a lot. She does her homeschooling in the morning, and then in the afternoon she can help Sunday up here in the kitchen. All right, so why don't you show us how we can do that grinding? So we gotta tighten it up. Oh, Sarah, your sister says hi. Ruth.
Hi. Oh, hi, Ruth.
So this is quite an arm workout. As you can see, another very labor-intensive process of the chocolate making business. There are machines in commercial kitchens that can do this a lot quicker and without a lot of labor, but we're still doing it manually here as a way to, help provide jobs for the economy. So Sarah, you want to give Sunday a try? Sunday is developing quite a muscle for this one. And Joshua just stands here and watches. That's not true. Joshua helps a lot too. So I'll come show you how it's looking. And right now, as she's doing this, the smell is absolutely heavenly because she's cracking that bean open a little bit more. And so the whole kitchen is starting to smell like chocolate, brownies, all those kinds of things. So we don't have to do the whole thing right now because I think Joshua already did some ahead of time for us. But thank you, Sunday, for that. About how many bowls of that do you think you grind per day?
They ground so many.
So many. Maybe 50? Or more? More, okay. So then we have here our scale. And Joshua, I believe, has already weighed out some cocoa for us. Sunday, how much cocoa have we weighed out here?
3 kg.
3 kg is what we weigh out to make one batch of cocoa. And then we have sugar here. How much sugar have we weighed out?
1.28.
1.28. So any of you people really good at doing math, you want to tell us what percentage chocolate we're making here? We're making dark chocolate. Again, we've got 3 kg of cocoa beans and 1.28 kg of sugar. So if anybody is really clever and wants to do that math, you can tell us what percentage chocolate we're making. Dark chocolate is anything above 60% cocoa, and that they do that by measuring how much cocoa product you have in your chocolate bar. Hey Nathan, you want to give us any? You want to give us any chocolate facts that you know while we're waiting for Joshua to get the machine ready?
Sure. So let's see. I'll ask a question first. If anybody can answer, where is the cocoa tree native to?
Okay. Does anyone know where the cocoa tree is native?
Yeah. So give you a hint. It's not native to West Africa. The cocoa tree was brought into West Africa and started to really be producing it in the late 1800s by Europeans.
Oh, Joshua's making some noise over here. What is he doing? We'll get back to Nathan's chocolate fact. We're still waiting for someone to tell us where the chocolate was from. Oh, Eric Bueller just said the Amazon. Very good, very good. All right, Joshua, what are you doing here with all this noise?
Right now we turn on the machine and we add in the cocoa butter.
Okay, so this is our machine. What do we call this machine?
This machine is called manager.
A melanger, okay. And let me take a look at what this machine looks like. So it's got a stone bottom there and it's got stone wheels. And so when Joshua turns it on, it begins spinning and it grinds. And it grinds the cocoa bean into like a paste and then eventually a liquid. We'll take you in and show you another machine that's been going for 24 hours. So while Joshua, what are you doing to get the machine ready? You're putting cocoa butter in there? So you melted some cocoa butter and you're just getting those wheels ready in order to be able to put the beans in. Yeah, okay. Perfect. So I'll let you keep going with that. So you have your nibs ready to put in? Sorry guys for the noise, but you know, you're here in a chocolate factory. It's going to be a little bit noisy. So yeah, I see a lot of people commenting that yes, the cocoa was from South America. That is true. So Joshua is going to show you how we very slowly and patiently put the nibs into the bean. Into the machine. We don't like to put a lot in at a time. Now we finally have a little bit more silence now that there's something to be grinding in there. So he'll keep adding the nibs a little bit by a little bit. We don't want to add a lot at a time because that can upset our machine. Mimi is asking, where did this machine come from? That's a really good question. So we did not buy this machine in Liberia. We got the machine from Amazon, actually. We had it ordered back in, I think, January 2018, and someone brought it over in a suitcase for us. His name was Jacob. He brought it over in a suitcase, and that began our experimentation. From there, we've had a few other people donate machines to the chocolate business. So we've had a couple people from Freedom Church in Bel Air donate machines, and we also had someone from another organization here in Liberia, Orphan Aid Liberia, bring over a machine for us. So now how many machines do we have?
6.
We have 6 machines, and so we're usually running anywhere from 3 to 4 machines at a time right now.
How many pounds can that be?
And this machine itself can hold how many pounds of chocolate?
10 pounds.
10 pounds of chocolate.
Yes.
And we usually only put 9.5 pounds in because we don't want to push it.
Yeah.
We're in Liberia and we don't want any of our machines to spoil because in Liberia we don't have a lot of people to fix our machines when they spoil. So yeah, we've got these machines running, and for how long will that be in the machine there?
For 24 hours.
For 24 hours. So thankfully we are blessed in this part of Liberia that we have electricity most of the time. Sometimes it can play games with us, go off in the middle of the night, and we have to run down and unplug our chocolate machines or turn the generator on, all those sorts of things. So it's definitely a little bit of a headache learning how to do business here, but we are making it work, right?
Yeah.
Yep. So Joshua, why don't you go show us one of the other machines in the closet there, and so we can see what else we have going on. So we have our chocolate closet here where we keep our machines running in the night. And this machine, what time did you start this machine yesterday?
I started the machine yesterday about 3.
So Joshua said he started the machine at 3 o'clock yesterday, so it's been in this machine for 24 hours. Can you grab the thermometer and show me how hot this chocolate is? So again, it's been in this machine for 24 hours. If you touch the outside of it, it's getting super hot. Joshua's got a little thermometer reader here. He's going to show you how hot it is. 150 degrees Fahrenheit is how hot this gets. So this was, the cocoa was added in the first couple hours, and then we added sugar, right?
Yes.
And so this is cocoa and sugar that is in here. Nobody ever told me what percent dark chocolate we're making. But I'll just tell you, it's 70% dark chocolate is what we're making right now. So is that not just the most beautiful thing to watch? Everything, all that chocolate going through the machines. I mean, sometimes when I'm walking by the room here, I just come in and look at it. It really makes me hungry. Sorry, Trish. I see that we're also making you hungry. All right, so Joshua is going to show us what we do after the chocolate has been in the machine for a little while. We're going to turn it off, right? Get a little peace and quiet back. He's unplugging it from our, what is this called, voltage regulator box.
Yeah.
So this, we have to plug all our machines into this because the electricity is not too stable in Liberia, and sometimes it can fry our equipment. So we would rather it fry this machine rather than this machine. All right. Ruth is asking, how many people do we have that are helping and working in the chocolate business? How many do we have?
We have 4.
So we have you, and then we have 3 other people, right?
Yes.
Gifty, Sunday,
Joyce,
and Joyce.
Yes.
Oh, and sometimes
just-
we have a part-time worker, Samuel,
Samuel, yeah.
come in and help. So those are all people that are getting paid, and they're able to use that money for their school fees, for helping family, whatever. So Joshua's going to take this heavy machine,
Yeah.
and we're going to carry it out here. No. So Joshua, what are we going to do now?
Now we are going to temper the chocolate.
We are going to temper the chocolate.
Yes.
Okay. Someone asked us on here, how often are you guys making chocolate?
Oh, we make chocolate throughout the week.
Every single day, right? Monday through Friday we make chocolate. We make about 3 or 4 batches a day,
Yeah.
depending on how many machines we can get running. So if we're making 3 or 4 batches a day, 15 days a week, how many pounds of chocolate are we making a week? I've never really done the math. Maybe someone on here is going to do the math for us. 3 batches. Each batch is about 10 pounds. That's 150 pounds of chocolate. Thank you, Nathan. Always the human calculator. 150 pounds of chocolate is what we're making every week. So Joshua and Sunday are getting their gloves on here. They've got their aprons on to make sure that things stay clean. And what do we have here, Sunday? What is this block here for?
This is for tempering the chocolate.
And it helps to cool it down, right? So let me explain a little bit this tempering process. So this is a very, very important step in chocolate making. Again, I knew nothing about it until we messed it up a few times. And then once we messed it up a few times, we learned how to do it well. So this tempering process takes the chocolate liqueur and we pour it out on the slab. Maybe you've seen this at really fancy like chocolate tiers in the US. They sometimes have a glass window you can watch through. We've got the 150 degree Fahrenheit chocolate. We pour it out and we lower the temperature, then we raise the temperature, and then we lower it again. And the reason for doing this is because we are trying to get a certain type of crystal to form in the chocolate there. That crystal is a type 5 crystal. So I know this is getting a little bit technical, but I promised you a chocolate making video. So I'm going to try and give you as much as I know. So there are 6 types of crystals that chocolate can form. Type 5 crystal is the type where once the chocolate bar is made, it is shiny, it is beautiful, it can crack open, and it doesn't melt very easily. Other types of crystals that can form are types 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6. Those types, when you are making the chocolate and you have not done the proper tempering process, you can get those types of crystals to form. And when those crystals form, it will actually create a chocolate that is kind of like dusty. I don't know if you guys have ever had a chocolate bar, you've kept it in the hot car, and then you've brought it into the house and you have put it in the freezer, and then once you pull it out, it's kind of got like a white dusty film on the outside. Joshua can show you an example of some chocolates that were not tempered properly. So they have this white dusty film on them. Some people may think that it is mold, but it is actually the sugar and the waxes or the cocoa butter, the oil, separating from the nib. And that's because the proper type of crystals were not formed during the tempering process. So again, this chocolate is perfectly acceptable to eat. It tastes fine. It just doesn't have that silky smooth flavor, and when you cut into it, it will have it will kind of look crumbly rather than snapping, really beautiful like a chocolate bar. We'll show you a really good chocolate bar at the end of this video because now we only make really good chocolate bars. So Sunday is over here. She's making sure to get as much chocolate as possible off of this machine. We do not waste any chocolate around here. You know, that's one of the things that we talk about with our students, trying to figure out how we can make a business that is profitable. A lot of farmers we talked about last week in our video, they are doing businesses, but they're not able to keep really good records about what's being grown, how much they spent. And so a lot of times they don't know if their business is even profitable. And so we talk about that a lot with our students, keeping records of everything that we do, making sure that we can think about how to maximize profit so that we can keep employing young people, keep providing jobs, keep giving farmers a high level of profit. So she's pouring it out. I mean, this is the most beautiful thing to watch, honestly. This big, giant pool of chocolate makes me want to go swimming inside of it. Anybody else think this is just a beautiful, beautiful sight? Give us a heart if you think so. So again, Sunday is scraping out every little last bit of chocolate there. That's a lesson I learned from my mom as well. Whenever we cook something, we never left anything in the jar. We scraped every little last bit out. We don't waste anything. So she's going to get all that out. And then typically, how long does it take to temper the chocolate, Joshua?
Really depends the temperature inside here, so it takes somewhere between 25 to 30 minutes before temperature is full.
And what temperature are we bringing it down to?
89 degrees Fahrenheit.
89 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's at 150 when we take it out.
Yeah.
He's going to go grab the thermometer. So it's at 150 degrees Fahrenheit when we take it out of the machine, and we have to bring it down to 89 degrees. And as Joshua was saying, it can be a little bit hard sometimes because the temperature in Liberia is not below 89 degrees. Okay, so it's already at 134, so it's going down, down, down. But the temperature in Liberia is not below 89 degrees except for early in the morning. So typically this is something we do in the morning, but for the sake of the video, we're showing you guys how we do it here. So what Sunday will do is she'll take her 2 spatulas and she'll just spread it back and forth, back and forth. I mean, this could be a meditation video right here. This could put me to sleep. Just watching the chocolate go back and forth, back and forth. Hopefully I'm not putting any of you guys to sleep. But so she'll do this for a little while and make sure that it gets down to the temperature. And then once we reach 89 degrees, we have to take the temperature up again, right, Joshua?
Yeah.
To what temperature?
We take it back to 100.
Back to 100, yeah. And then we drop it down again.
Yeah.
So again, this up, down of the temperatures, it is working to create a certain type of crystals within the chocolate. And so one way you can do it is by taking it up, down with the temperatures. But then another way we can do it is by using already tempered cocoa butter or chocolate. So what we can do is we can shred this. Joshua's got his little cheese grater over there that he can use to shred the cocoa butter. And then we can take those little pieces and mix them in here, and it will actually act as like seeds. So once those crystals, type 5 crystals that are in the cocoa butter there, come into here, it will encourage the other crystals here to be like building blocks, and everybody around them will form type 5 crystals as well. So that has been helpful to us because we can't always use the temperature method. So I don't know if Joshua's are you gonna use the cocoa butter method or the temperature method? Okay, so you can show us how you grate a little bit of that in to the chocolate. Okay, Nathan, do you have any more cocoa facts for us?
Well, the global chocolate industry is growing just like any healthy industry. And does anybody know what is the main driving force? I'm not going to let you answer. I'm just going to give you the answer here. It's actually dark chocolate. The news of dark chocolate being healthy and providing benefits like fighting against heart disease and other heart problems has actually caused a lot of people to be interested in dark chocolate, and that is the main driving force behind the growth of the global chocolate industry right now.
Awesome. And the chocolate industry is worth like billions and billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that most of that chocolate, 70% of the cocoa beans that are grown in the world are coming from right here in West Africa. So our neighboring countries, Ivory Coast, and Ghana and Sierra Leone are some of the biggest cocoa producers in the entire world. Ivory Coast itself grows at least 40% of the cocoa in the entire world. Liberia is not quite on that list yet. There's been a lot of challenges over the last few years with the cocoa industry in Liberia. I mean, the war that came through, the civil war that came through in the 90s and early 2000s, people had to leave their farms, so they were no longer able to care for their cocoa farms. And then we also had the Ebola outbreak come through in 2014 to 2016. So again, a lot of agricultural production was disturbed then. So the cocoa business is still trying to pick up here in Liberia. Right now, we export, I believe it's between 10 and 15,000 tons of cocoa beans in Liberia, whereas our neighboring countries export millions and millions of tons of cocoa beans. There's a lot of NGOs right now that are working with the farmers to try and help educate them about cocoa production. And we also do a little bit of education with the farmers, right? What kinds of things do we teach the farmers, Joshua?
We teach the farmer mainly on fermentation and how to ferment the bean to get the best quality of chocolate making.
Right, because if they don't ferment their beans properly, they will get a very low price for their cocoa. And many farmers, the time where cocoa pods are bearing is known as hunger season. So they are willing to basically sell for anything they can in order to be able to buy rice. And so a lot of buyers, cocoa bean buyers, will take advantage of that. And they'll go out into the villages and they'll offer very, very low prices for the cocoa beans. And the farmers will say yes because they are in need of money right away. And they will also not do the fermentation process in order to get the higher price cocoa, because there's not a lot of buyers in Liberia that are paying a premium for the grade 1 cocoa like we are. And so Joshua has gone out and talked to some farmer groups and demonstrated how to ferment the cocoa properly so that they can get high quality beans and then be able to sell to us at a much higher price than they would have before. So did you already grate the cocoa butter there with your cheese grater? Yeah. Okay. So then you're going to do what? You're going to mix that in?
Yeah, mix it in. When it reaches to 195 degrees Fahrenheit,
okay.
Add in the cocoa there, the butter.
Okay, once it reached 95.
95.
Okay, what is it at now? 104. Okay, we're dropping. Honestly, it feels like it's 100 degrees in this room right now, so I'm not sure how that's possible. But we are dropping. So then what we do next, once our product is ready, Joshua's showing us, we've got a few things over here. We use these wonderful molds. And we fill them up. These are our chocolate bar molds. Again, these are all things that we bought on Amazon and then had shipped over. We have grown very accustomed to having people bring things over in their suitcases when they come. So we have a joke that if you're ever coming to visit us in Liberia, you should never expect to have any empty suitcase space because we will definitely fill it up for you. So we had some very generous people bring these, I think about a year and a half ago, these different molds, and we use these for our different products. So in these square molds, what do we make? Can you show us what's inside that bag?
Yeah, right here we have chocolate.
So we have these cute little chocolate squares that we make. What are the different flavors that we make?
We have some with coconut, we have some with ginger, we also have some with nuts,
peanuts. And those are all locally grown products. Yeah. We can get the ginger at the local market, the coconuts at the local market, and the peanuts at the local market. So this one is a coconut one, right?
Yes.
So we will grate the coconut, shred it, right? Yeah. Cook it with sugar. Yeah. And then we'll...
We grate it and then mix it with sugar on the fire, put it on the stove for 45 to 50 minutes, and then it turns into candy. We have the coconut candy, and yes. We add it into the mold, and then add the chocolate to it.
Yeah, so we put it in the bottom of all these molds, and then we pour the chocolate on top. Yeah. We also use these little fun molds for what holiday?
We use this for
Valentine's Day. Yeah, so we took these and we experimented again, filling up with chocolate, then we put peanut butter in, and then we put chocolate again on top. And how were those?
It was very nice. Very nice.
Very nice.
What did we just experiment with?
What did we just a couple days ago you experimented making chocolate with what?
Honey.
With honey instead of sugar. So that's another local product. So rather than using the imported white sugar, we experimented making it with local honey because there's a few businesses that do local honey here. So it's pretty cool being able to use local products to, entirely local products to make something. Did you like the taste of it?
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, I like the taste of it too. And we can advertise that as, no sugar added, no artificial flavoring. And it'll be good for the honey business where we're buying the local honey from as well. So Joshua, I think, is going to fill up a bag with a little bit of chocolate and show you how we can fill our molds up. These are the really cute Lapa bags that we use to sell the chocolate. So these Lapa bags are made by a group of women here on campus, the Liberia International Christian College Women and Girls Resource Institute. And so that exists so that we can help teach women some vocational schools so that they can be able to provide for their families and their children, feed their families, do business, learn new skills, all those kinds of things. And my colleague Holly, who was in the video last week, she does a lot with them. So these bags are a perfect thing for the women who are just learning how to sew. They're not too complicated. They're really easy to make. I'm saying that, although I've never made them. I've never been much of a good seamstress. But I hear that they are easy to make. We have this little drawstring in here, and then we tie this little tag. So we buy these tags from a local business in town who is printing them for us, so we're able to support them. We buy these from the women's group who is making these, and so that's another local business, more jobs that we're able to support through this business here. And all those women, because they're a part of LICC, they join us for chapel services, devotions, and those kinds of things. So everything that we do here, we're not just doing it for business. We're doing it so that we can have relationships with people, engage in mentoring and discipleship, and hopefully share the gospel with these people as well that we're engaged with. So Joshua is showing us we've loaded up our chocolate in the bag there, and we're going to come over here and pour it into our molds. Now, before you say anything about this Ziploc bag, we did buy Joshua some really nice pastry bags, but he said he didn't like them. So we continue to use the Ziploc bag as our method of putting the chocolate into the molds there. So he just fills all of these up. Again, this is just delicious. I pretty much, taste chocolate every day here. And so does Joshua. We always have to taste each and every batch that we make. All of our batches are labeled. We make sure that everything is tasted before it goes out to the consumer, because we don't want to have any situations where, the flavor tastes like it's burnt, or it tastes like maybe the beans were too old or moldy. And so we've gotten really good over the past 2 years of making sure that the quality of our beans and every step along the way is very high quality, so we don't have any problems with that. But still, we make sure that we taste each and every batch to make sure that it is still good. So once Joshua fills each of these up, how many bars can we make from each batch? 70 chocolate bars from each batch of 9.5 pounds of chocolate. And we can make about 240 of these little squares. And 10 of those squares go into each of these bags here. So once he's filled the chocolate, he kind of sifts it a little bit to get it to set so that it's nice and even. We want to make sure that every little bar is filled up to the maximum capacity. We're not trying to cheat any of our customers. How many grams is each bar, Joshua?
60 grams.
60 grams, okay. 60 grams of dark chocolate. So from there, we come over here and we put it in the freezer, right?
Yeah.
And this is just to cool it down. We want to bring it to room temperature. Typically, when they say we want to bring things to room temperature, they're thinking that the room temperature is about 70 or 60 degrees, which we don't see very often here in Liberia. So we put it in the freezer for a little bit. Do you have the bars that we can pull out now, the other ones? Yeah, why don't you go ahead and pull the other bars that we put in earlier. Pull those out. And these are what the bars look like when they are done. You see there is no bad coloring on the back of the bar. Can you grab one out and show us? Okay. See how the bar itself is nice and shiny? It has good coloring. Why don't you snap it for us so that we can hear it? Did everybody hear that snap? Snap another piece so they can hear how our chocolate snaps. That's how we know that we have those type 5 crystals. Okay, you look on the inside there. Okay, it's pretty smooth. It's not crumbly or falling apart like some of those batches we made back in the day.
Do we need to taste test it again?
Yeah, Joshua, do you want to taste test it for us? Let us know how it is.
Yeah, this one. Good.
Nathan, do you want to taste it? Make sure it's also good?
Oh, yeah.
I'm really sorry, guys, that we're tasting all this chocolate in front of you. I know it's really cruel and unusual punishment, but we just want to let you guys know how much we enjoy the chocolate. Joshua's over here still enjoying his little piece. Even after 2 years of eating chocolate almost every day, you're not tired of it yet. No. Yeah, me neither. I don't think it's possible to get tired of chocolate. So then after that, we can do what with our chocolate?
After that, we put in the tin foil, this one, and then put a label on it.
Okay, so we wrap these, all of our chocolate bars, by hand with local tin foil that we buy. And then we had these awesome labels that were printed. So we had them designed by a friend online, and then we had them printed in Monrovia, which is not a simple task. We didn't have any printers here in Ganta that could print them to a high quality for us. So we tried out Monrovia, and we're still struggling a little bit with the quality of printing that we want. But that's just one of the challenges of doing business here in Liberia. Sunday, you still working on that chocolate?
Yeah.
Is the temperature going down?
Yeah,
98. 98.
About the room temperature.
So yeah, about the room temperature. So Joshua, I see this little logo here. What does this Redimir mean?
Redimir means, in Latin it means redeem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why did you pick that name for the business?
Redimir envisioned vibrant cocoa sectors in Liberia, which over the past year, because of the war, Ebola have been broken down. And we, as Christians and business, we hope that this cocoa sector can be redeemed, and we hope to be part of it by making this nice chocolate and providing jobs and keeping the money here in Liberia.
Exactly. And every time someone asks us what Redimir means, we can tell them the story of what Redimir means, how it means redeemed in Latin. When we picked that name, we were looking for something that would we would have a chance to share our faith. So we are hoping that, we can share our faith as people who are redeemed. We believe in the hope, and we have everlasting hope for Liberia as well. And we believe this chocolate business can be a part of redeeming and bringing back kind of what Liberia was before the war. So every time someone asks us what redeem means, it's an opportunity for us to be able to share our faith with other people. Anything else about the chocolate bar that we need to tell people that we forgot about? Does anybody have any questions? I think we're wrapping up on most of the chocolate making aspect. I'll wait and see if you guys have any questions. But this bar is so professional. It's in, we just got it in the supermarkets last week, right?
Yeah.
How many supermarkets were you able to get it in?
I think we visited 15 to 20 supermarkets.
15 to 20 supermarkets in Monrovia. And the people who you were selling to, were they impressed?
Yeah, they were very much impressed. And they were very happy, and they were very much excited to see Liberian-made chocolate.
Yeah, this is the first Liberian-made chocolate business that we are aware of, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we are the only people right now making chocolate. Liberia, again, has been growing cocoa for tons and tons of years. Joshua himself, you grew up on a cocoa farm.
Yes.
Yeah, your family raised cocoa.
Yeah.
And so it's part of the culture here, especially in Nimba.
Yeah, and this was the very first time to see chocolate too. When I came to Uganda and then we were going to school, getting to the chocolate business, that was my very first time to taste chocolate and to know chocolate. But I've been working with cocoa for over 15 years.
So you've just been exporting the cocoa, and then buying, because Liberians, do they eat chocolate? A little bit, right?
Yes.
They can eat like a Nutella type chocolate, and there's also Ovaltine in the local market and like a hot cocoa powder. So there is absolutely no reason that Liberia should be importing chocolate, right? No reason. So earlier in the video, Joshua mentioned that typically with a chocolate bar, if it sells for $1, 3% of that, or 3 cents, will go to the farmer. And a lot of the other extra money is going to distributors, marketers, people who are processing it. And so a lot of times these jobs that Sunday is doing are being done in other parts of the world. So those jobs are leaving Liberia. The money that could be going into the economy is leaving Liberia. And so as much as possible, we want to be able to keep that money within Liberia to be able to provide jobs and build the economy here. What other questions did I have, Joshua? What is probably so you've been with the chocolate business for 2 years now, right?
Yes.
And what is your role?
Right now I'm serving as the production manager.
Production manager. So you help to oversee everybody else who is in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And what do you use this chalkboard for back here every day?
Oh, we use it for everything, for record keeping, how many batches we made, how many pieces of chocolate we have in store, and how many we need to make, the ingredients and everything right on the board. And we also write a daily goal for our workers there, what they have to do.
So every day at the beginning of the week, Joshua puts all his goals for the week. So he writes goals for all the students who are working in the chocolate business about this is how many grams of product we need to make, this is how many grams of cocoa beans we need to roast, this is how many chocolate bars we need to make this week, and he puts them up there, and as they reach the goals, we check those off. And also Joshua himself keeps a little record book here so that we know every single batch that has been made. And what batch are we on right now?
Right now there is 254, although we are more than that.
Although we are more than that now. You still have to add some. Wow. Okay, so just this week, you can see that Joshua and his team worked on making their 318th batch of chocolate, which is quite an accomplishment. Joshua, you are also an owner of this business, right?
Yes.
Why are you an owner? How did you get to be an owner?
I got to be an owner from the very beginning of this business. I've been part of it. I was in the class when I signed for the food processing preservation, and I was part of it. So I'm owner of labor, and my ownership is just a labor. So
Right.
from the very beginning, I've been part of it, and then I stay part of it.
Right. As soon as we made chocolate in the class, we were experimenting with it, and you and Kona came to us afterwards and you said, okay, we need to make this a business, right?
Yeah.
We want to be selling this product. We want to be taking this to other Liberians, and we want to be using it as something that can benefit Liberia. So you, Kona, and Biawo are the 3 owners and co-founders, yeah. And so this past week was your first time taking the product down to Monrovia. Yeah. Did you learn anything while you were interacting with all the supermarkets?
Yes, I learned a lot. And the major thing that I learned is communication skill. Yeah, which I find difficult to speak to people of different language, and for me to get comfortable with them, it was very difficult. But I learned it, and now I'm getting better at that.
Awesome. So you're getting better at communication skills. How else has this business helped you personally?
This business helped me a lot, and it's given a knowledge of leadership, and given a knowledge how to start a business, and also it helped provide jobs for me, which enabled me to support my parents, send them money, buy food, buy clothes, and all those things. Yeah.
Buy phone, buy clothes, maybe help pay for your graduation fees, because you're about to graduate soon, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the senior research project that you did.
Okay, yeah, so my senior research project was based on cocoa fermentation, and right now we are still on it. We are almost to the point of finishing, but we are on cocoa fermentation, the different methods of fermentation, and how it affects the taste of chocolate. That's what I did my research on.
So you took a lot of cocoa beans and you did 3 different methods of fermentation, right?
Yeah.
You fermented them in the fruit and the juices, and then we had people sample those different products.
Yes.
And we found that there actually wasn't a big difference between the tastes, right?
No.
Yeah, so a lot of the methods that farmers are already using to ferment the beans are good. The problem is they're just not doing it long enough. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think we are getting ready to wrap up here. Sunday is still working on cooling down the chocolate. How's it coming? 95. Are we there yet? We can start adding the cocoa? Butter? Awesome. All right, for those of you who joined us, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming around with us on this tour. I think someone had commented if there's any way for you guys to help support the business. Yes, there are ways. We're looking to purchase a few other machines that can help us increase the production. So that'll be something that we'll be posting about soon. And we also are asking for your prayers. You know, this business is not just a business to make money, it's a business that is wanting to be used as a ministry. So I just ask that you would pray alongside of us, and for the people that are working here and everybody that we interact with, supermarkets, farmers, students, customers, you know, hundreds of people are now in contact with us because of this business. So we have a great opportunity to be able to share the hope that we've found with a much larger and wider audience. Lastly, I would ask that you guys would follow the chocolate business on Facebook, tell people about it, share about it. We never know what connections are going to be helpful for us. One day we'd really like to have like a professional chocolate maker come here and teach us some secrets about roasting and all the other things, because we still have a lot to learn on that. There's only so much we can learn on YouTube. So yeah, please be praying for us. We will share different ways that you can donate and help us purchase some machines, especially right now with coronavirus times. It's really hard for small businesses, we know, in the US, and it's hard for small businesses in Liberia too. So just pray with us that we can keep going. This is definitely a time of trial for all of us throughout the world, and so we just pray that this business is something that can continue to provide jobs and give hope throughout this really difficult time. Someone's asking about bringing chocolate back to the U.S. We will do our best. I'm not sure when we'll be getting back to the U.S. We're planning, us and the Seaballs are planning to come back in June. And I was planning on trying to figure out how I could get like 100 pounds of chocolate in my suitcase. I don't know if that's legal. Maybe someone can look that up and tell me if that's legal. Last summer I brought home like 20 pounds of chocolate and was able to share a little bit, but I'd love to be able to bring back more and share it with you guys as much as we can. So thank you guys so much for supporting this ministry. Again, Hope in the Harvest is all about Christ-centered economic development, and this is just one of the many ways that we're able to live out that ministry here in Liberia. So from all of us here at Redimere, we say thank you, and we are praying for you guys as well amidst the coronavirus stuff. We pray that we can all be together again soon. Sunday, Sarah, you guys want to say goodbye?
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right.